Namaste, I'm Divya Nagaraj and I'm here with Shri Rajiv Malhotra. Let's start with this quote, which is so relatable to me in today's world and particularly among my peers. Let me read this. From the chapter called The Audacity of Difference. Many Indians have diluted their distinctiveness in order that Westerners may find them less strange. Their desire to manifest sameness occurs at levels both deep and superficial. In attempts to eliminate distinctions of dress, speech, and self presentation, especially in the business sphere, and in efforts to think, write, and speak only in Western terms, in all kinds of discourse, from political to cultural to academic. So, you use the term difference anxiety to explain this behavior. So, could you tell us what is the reason for this anxiety?
Difference anxiety applies in many situations. A traditional bride marries some very rich family and she has a difference anxiety that, I'm not like them. So I'm going to learn how they are and little things. I'm the underdog. I have less power. They have more power. It's their context. I'm entering in their context. So I'm the one who's going to shift and become less different. Yeah. So this is an example. It comes from when a person feels less power and considers the other side to have more power. Okay. Now the husband doesn't feel that, hey, I'm different from her, I should become like her. That's unfortunate. In a truly equal relationship, they should both be like feeling. There should be a symmetrical situation. Okay. Now when this kind of a thing happens to a collective group of people, one civilization feeling inferior and less powerful than the other one, there is an inferiority complex. So difference anxiety can be from the side of the Indian who says, I'm not the same as these people. So I'll pick up their language, I'll pick up their dress, I'll pick up their ways, I'll pick up their ideology. They're accusing us of something, I'll also accuse us of that. So, and I'm always trying to please them and impress them. And we have so many of these people on Twitter. Some, white American woman comes and she starts tweeting common sense. Nothing she's saying is different that we already don't know. But if I were to say something like that, I may get X number of tweets, but retweets. If she says it, she'll get 50 times. Because she's a white person and we are very impressed. This is an inferiority complex. And you're giving such people the adhikar, building up their ego, their power, and then they'll control us because they feel very powerful. Sometimes when these people came to our country, they were not rich, we were rich. They were not militarily powerful. British came with very few people. But we had this inferiority complex over them, so we built them up. And it got into their head that, we are very strong and powerful, we can pull these guys down, we know how to boss over them. So this difference anxiety can work against you. Now, one reaction to the difference anxiety from the people who think they are inferior is to imitate. Okay. Then others are looking to join them. So we'll convert. We'll be less different. Chinese were brought into America as migrant workers to build railroads and do labor work, menial labor, a long time back. I'm not talking about today's Chinese who are very strong. I'm talking about a long time ago, many generations back, another generation of Chinese when they were very poor. So they had this inferiority complex. They suffered difference anxiety and they decided to convert to Christianity and become American. They converted to Christianity, but they were still looked down upon. It didn't work. A lot of Africans had no choice because they were slaves, so they were all converted to Christianity. They started African churches and all that, thinking that now we'll get assimilated, they'll treat us as equals because after all we are Christians, but it didn't work. So, this business that you will try to mimic the superior people who you think are superior and upgrade yourself doesn't quite work. But this imitation is a important aspect of difference anxiety. It's a result of difference anxiety. The Indian Muslims suffer difference anxiety from the Arabs, think that we are inferior, so they should Arabize. Okay, learn Urduize, Persianize, something like that. Start wearing Arab clothes, get the Arab name. Nothing in the Quran says you got to abandon your Indian dress or your Indian clothes. It is mimicry of the Arabs. And so the Arabs are promoting it, saying that because the Prophet was a perfect human being, you should mimic him. So if the Arab was scratching like this, you should do that. If he had a beard, you should grow that kind of beard. Whatever he did, if you do it, you're imitating perfection. Yeah. So this business of imitating perfection comes from difference anxiety, a deep inferiority complex, and so there are the Indian, South Asian Muslims feel that there are these ashraf. Ashraf Muslim is somebody who claims to come from Arab or Turkey origin, and Ajlaf is the Indian, the person who's converted. Now they're all Indian, but they want to fake that they are actually from Turkish background, Persian background, Arab background. So they want to Ashrafize themselves. Just like a lot of Indians want to become anglicized because of the inferiority complex with respect to Westerners. The Muslims have the same complex with respect to Arabs and Turks, and they want to claim that we have that ancestry. Our ancestors came as Mughals, and we are descendants of that, which is not true genetically.
Yeah.
So it's all the result of difference anxiety. Okay. Now the other kind of difference anxiety is the one who thinks I'm the conqueror, superior person. I have a superiority complex. I'm looking down at them. His difference anxiety is that I'm this white American or this Westerner or whatever, and I'm different from them because I'm superior. So the difference anxiety can be either from below, of the people who feel less qualified, less capable, or it can be a difference anxiety in the form of racism or prejudice from above. Both are wrong, and both are a source of tension.
But also I feel this comes from the sense where most Indians feel we are less intelligent and they are more intelligent. So they know the way, so just follow that.
Right.
So I think that comes from there.
And this Western Universalism telling them that they are more evolved, they are more advanced, and we have to become like them.
Exactly.
And we have to give up. We have to be very embarrassed when a Westerner comes and he says, "What's this happening? What's that happening?"
Yeah.
We have to be very embarrassed, start apologizing and whatnot. It is the result of overpopulation and poverty. It has nothing to do with inferior civilization.
Right.
And some of that poverty came because of colonialism.
Right.
So we should be able to say, if you were poor, you would also be like that.
Right.
It's not because your civilization is inferior.
Yeah, I think that's what needs to get into our minds.
Right.
To say that.
Yes.
Instead we say whatever our culture, our beliefs lack rationality or logic. So all that belongs to them.
Yes. India is getting even worse because we have difference anxiety with respect to Arabs and Persians. North Indians, even Hindus, think that is superior culture.
Right.
That this poetry, Urdu poetry, and this Sufism, all that. There's nothing in Sufism about music. I mean, this all, actually some of it is just modern music, and they call it Sufi, this is very strange. You could turn bhakti into this kind of modern music if you feel like. There's nothing unusual. But there is this complex. In the South, the complex is more towards Christians. South is more Christianized, pseudo-Christianized for solving difference anxiety, and the North is more Islamized, soft Islam, not becoming Muslim per se, but culturally trying to imitate them. And now there's a trend of people wanting to imitate Chinese. So the difference, if China were to succeed in its goal to become the most powerful nation, Indians will be getting jobs in Chinese multinationals. And then Indian people in matrimonial ads will say some Chinese blood in me and of Chinese origin and whatnot. This kind of a nonsense can happen again.
Right.
So we need to really discover who we are.
Right.
And not believe in somebody's universalism and else's universalism, assert our own, and also at the same time not have any complex of superiority, inferiority. We are different, you're different. So the solution to difference anxiety is mutual respect with difference.
I think if we don't do that, we'll end up being second-class citizens.
Yes.
But in this context, if I were to take a moment and talk about my generation, I would say that our lives are very much influenced by the West, be it clothing, food, music, movies, and so on. So where do we draw the line between staying rooted in our traditions and adopting Western influences?
You don't want to say we reject everything Western.
Right.
You got to be practical.
Right.
I mean, just because phones and computers and these things were invented by them doesn't mean that we can't have them. First of all, anything scientific or technological is culturally neutral because it's the laws of physics. Right. I mean, computers work on laws of physics. It's not that a person of a certain faith will work better or worse for them. And this is true of all kind of scientific advancements. So science, our culture is very good and friendly towards science and technology, and we should have absolutely no problem Now China accepts all the technology and they say this is not westernization. We are adopting technology, but we are a Confucian society. Confucianism is our civilization. So we're not going to suffer difference anxiety and inferiority complex with the West. We are true to Confucian thought and culture, and we are going to become the most technologically advanced country. Whether we learn it from you is irrelevant. We learn it from wherever we can, but we make it our own. So we should have no problem with technology.
Right.
It is not a difference anxiety issue, because it is not, you're not trading off your tradition. You can have all your tradition and be technologically savvy.
Right.
You know, that's very important to me. Then as far as popular culture is concerned, I think popular culture also, I mean, certain clothes are more practical, then we can use those clothes. I mean, certain, whatever is practical, our tradition was never against being practical.
Right.
The concern comes when you want to deny your history,
Right.
when you want to erase or dilute the philosophy, when you want to decouple yoga from the Vedic foundations, when you want to westernize the Ayurvedic medicine to impress them, because Ayurvedic medicine requires a certain way. So I'm more concerned about difference anxiety affecting those kind of deep-rooted traditions of our culture.
Right.
And particularly our sense of history, our ideas of philosophy, the Dharma Shastras, the Arth Shastras. We should be grounded in our Shastras.
Right.
And then we should be very easygoing and respectful of others and be good ambassadors and mingle with them. People ask me, "Arey, you are fighting so much for our culture. Why are you sitting with those Americans? Why are you doing that?" Why not?
Exactly.
I mean, why not? I'm not somebody whose idea of Vedic civilization is isolation. So we are not isolated.
Yeah.
We are engaging the world. We are going all over the world. We are going to take over many companies, many industries, dominate wherever we can, do very well, and keep our cultural identity, civilizational identity intact. I mean, Japanese did that. They were the greatest industrialists and businessmen, but very proud of their heritage.
Right.
Chinese are doing that now. Chinese are taking over many things, but they are not saying that we are no longer going to be Chinese.
Yeah.
So this is a very subtle point.
And you say that difference anxiety leads to digestion of the inferior culture.
Yes.
So could you tell us what this digestion is?
What is digestion? So, when the example I give is a tiger eats a goat and digests the goat.
Right.
Now, it's not just he's using something, but that something is disappeared. There's no more goat left.
Yeah.
Goat is gone, it's dead. So the Christians digested pagan culture and they finished off the pagans.
Yeah.
They finished off their goddess tradition, their temples, many of their manuscripts and books were burnt and destroyed. And they took what was useful. So the Christmas tree came from there. The whole Easter symbolism and all that came from there. Many of the ideas that are considered part of Christianity are actually not Christian. They came from the people they conquered and adopted those things. But in the process, they destroyed those people. So that's the destruction means I appropriate, but I destroy the source. And that destructive appropriation is the wrong part of it. So digestion, the problem is not sharing. Sharing we do. So we want you to use yoga and we want you to practice yoga. It works for everybody. But do not distort it to Christianize it.
Exactly.
Do not make it less Vedic and Hindu because you don't like all that. So you can't take certain things out of it. And they are not just for symbolism. If you read Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, the idea of guna, and the guna is, and the idea of karma is there.
Okay.
So you cannot get rid of karma when you are dealing with the philosophy of yoga. And if you are dealing with karma, you also have to bring in the past life and the future life, because karma is not just within one life, it is beyond one life, it keeps transferring. So to be proper in yoga, you have to understand karma. To understand karma, you have to understand reincarnation. The whole philosophy is there.
Right.
And the idea of who I am that is doing the yoga is not just this body. So if I really understand who I am and my being, there are concepts like pran. You can't translate pran. Yeah. Pranayama is not just breath, because while you are conscious of the breath part of it, but the actual pran, the breath is one aspect of the pran, but pran is a much more profound concept. When you are doing yoga, there are certain shaktis. There is kundalini. There are all kind of things that there is no Western equivalent.
Yeah.
So therefore, the idea is the tendency to just digest it, which means that we erase who we are by erasing the difference. We're suffering difference anxiety. We erase the difference and we digest it and make it look like theirs.
Right.
In that process, we are compromising our integrity and our authenticity, and we are erasing our civilization.
Right. So all the sprouting up of yoga studios offering anything from hot yoga to beer yoga is something we should be concerned about.
Right. Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here and also hit the bell icon to make sure you get notified. To donate, please click this button.